Hello YouTubers, it's Matt. It's 3:30 in the afternoon and I have a movie review for you. This time it's the movie 127 Hours. I finally got to see it. 127 Hours. The final of the Oscar movies that I wanted to see before Oscar time. My initial reaction to the movie? I knew it would be gripping and epic and intense and gritty and raw and emotional, and I was exactly right. It was just that. It was directed by Danny Boyle, who previously brought us Slumdog Millionaire, Sunshine, 28 Days Later, and Trainspotting. Now, movie stars James Franco as Aaron Ralston, who, for those of you that don't know, was a canyoneer, mountain climber, outdoorsy guy. He was climbing a canyon in Utah, and he got his arm trapped beneath a boulder. And there for 127 hours, which is about 5 days, he decided, figured out, the only way out of this situation is to cut my own arm off. So that's exactly what he did. Now, the acting in this movie was great. It was really good. I mean, pretty much any movie where somebody is caught between a life and death situation, their acting is going to be superb because, it's not going to be, happy-go-lucky. It's not going to be, a fantasy. It's not going to be, over-the-top joy. It's going to be sadness. It's going to be despair. It's going to be anger. It's going to be desperation. It's going to be real. And it's going to be damn fine acting. And that's what we got in this movie. Now, as far as the directing goes, the directing was good. I personally think this movie was more about the acting than directing, but the directing was good because it showed us the journey of how he went from, his house, the trip to the canyon, while he was in the canyon, and then his trip out of the canyon. So the directing was good. The music was also really good. It really helped set the mood and intensified certain situations that couldn't be done with just, special effects. So the songs and the music were good, right from the beginning of the movie all the way to the end credits. Now, this movie, though based on real life, now there were some intense scenes with the amputation scene. Now, it was a good scene, and it is haunting, and it will stay with you after you watch the movie. You won't forget it. But I liked how, when it came to this scene, you could see it in his eyes, Aaron's eyes, that, he's got to do this, otherwise he's not going to make it out. And I like the emotions that James Franco put into this character because, there are times where he'd be angry and he'd curse. There are times where he'd be sad. And then there are also times where he'd be happy. And I really like the scenes in the movie where, Aaron would have flashbacks of his life before, this hell that was this canyon. And I like how he'd have flashbacks of his girlfriend, his friends, good times he had. I also liked how he thought about what could be going on if he wasn't stuck in the canyon. So I liked how they did the transitions between what could have happened or what did happen and then where he is now. I liked how it was, happy and cheery, and then bam, you're right back in the canyon with him. And you're like, jeez, this sucks even more. So, back to the amputation scene. As far as that goes, I like what they did with this scene. They basically made it intense, and they made it, gripping, and they made it really squirmish. But they didn't show too much. It wasn't like violence like you see in the Saw movies where you watch, the camera stays on somebody sawing off a body part, or, stepping on sharp objects, or impaling themselves or whatnot. This scene used sound more than anything. And I really like the way they used the sound because, it was sound mixed with his facial expressions that made you know and think, oh my gosh, something pretty bad is happening. And I liked how they didn't have to, have the camera set on the severing or the blood or the muscles or the arm or the knife. for you to really know what's going on, because you knew what was happening. So that's basically the story. That's basically the movie. Should this movie win for Best Picture? It could. It could. I mean, like I said with the King's Speech, usually if you play, a real person, let alone somebody that overcame great hardships or disabilities, you're almost always nominated for an Oscar, if not going to win. So yes, it should have been nominated. Should James Franco win for Best Actor? He should. Yes, he should. Should Danny Boyle win for Best Director? He could win. Yes, he could win. Now, if I had to rate this movie out of 5, without hesitation, it'd get a 5. 5 out of 5. Another great movie. Another great performance by James Franco. And if you're not a huge fan of him, or you don't know what else he's been in, check out Milk. I know not everyone's a fan of that movie, but his acting in that movie is really good. So, he hasn't won an Oscar yet. I think it's about time he does. See ya.